Hello everybody, Julia here, and today I have a very cheerful card for you combining products from different companies like Pretty Pink Posh and Altenew, and I'm doing some very easy watercoloring. I hope you enjoy it. I am using this stamp from Altenew called Botanical Garden, which has some gorgeous florals, and this is some watercolor cardstock, and it's very, very sturdy, and I wanted something very sturdy because I knew I'd be fuzzy cutting it. So I'm starting out by stamping the flower, and I'm using my Misty, and as you can see, that was a good decision because my first impression wasn't very good, which is not uncommon for watercolor cardstock. It has a textured surface, so it's absolutely possible that the first impression is not going to be perfect. But after the second stamping attempt here, you can see it worked out perfectly. Now for coloring, I'm using my Zig Clean Color Real brush markers, but you can use any coloring medium that you like. Since these markers are super intense, I'm only adding a tiny bit of color into the area where it would be darkest, and then I'm using water to blend it out. I even clean off my brush in between before it's blended out completely to make sure that I have a nice gradient. As I said, these markers are super intense, so you need to be careful to leave enough space for your highlights and not have darkness everywhere. After I had done the leaves as well, I am coming back with a brown color, and I'm adding this into the shadow areas here, and I'm pulling it out just a bit, and this is to even intensify the gradient from dark to light a little bit. As I said, this is super easy watercoloring. There's not really a lot of science to it. I'm just adding like a darker shade of color into the shadow areas. On the butterfly that I also stamped, I'm doing something a little bit different here. I'm mixing the colors directly on paper. You can see here I'm going from a dark orange to a light yellow, and then I'm coming in with my brush, which is loaded with water, and I'm just blending out the yellow a little bit. Darker orange, lighter orange, yellow, and then blending out. And you can see you get a really nice gradient. And I'm just adding a tiny bit of brown here under this one wing to create the illusion that it's actually, they don't have four wings, but I just wanted to create that illusion. I die cut my opening here with a Pretty Pink Posh, the oval stitch die, and then I'm using micro pour tape to keep this shape in place. I added some foam tape on the back of this panel then, and basically grabbing some pattern paper from my favorite things here, which will be my background. You can see it doesn't look pretty from the back, but you know what? Nobody's ever going to see that between just you and me, basically. And then I'm adhering this to my card base. So I have this nice large opening and this beautiful background. I adhered the flower and the butterfly with foam tape, and then I'm using a sentiment from Paper Smooches and just stamping the sentiment there. And of course, some sequins by Pretty Pink Posh had to be added with my glossy accents. By the way, all the products that I'm using are always going to be listed in the video description below. And the colors I used for coloring here will be also listed on my blog. Tweezers and a fine tip applicator. I'm telling you guys, this is just something that you need when you work with sequins. And then I decided, hey, I want a little bit more detail here actually. So I grabbed my Polychromos pencils, and I'm just adding some lines here. I'm using a flicking motion to make sure I have a very soft ending to those lines, and I'm just adding those into the darkest areas. And I don't know if you can see it or not, but I actually sprayed the butterfly and the flower with some Perfect Pearls mist before I adhered them, so they actually sparkle and shine really, really nicely. And this just adds a little bit more detail, and I hope you can see that here in that close-up shot. And I think it really helped to add that detail in the end, because it made the flower look a little bit more interesting. It's of course not as intricate or exciting as the colorations that, for example, Marika Rathu does, and that I've also attempted before. But if you don't feel comfortable doing that, or it's just too much work, this is very quick and easy to do, and I think it still gives you a very nice overall effect. And this is the entire card, which I hope will bring a smile to whoever receives it in the future. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you got inspired today. If you liked the video, leave me a thumbs up or even subscribe. I would really love that. Thanks guys. Cheers.